Welcome back, my friends. Wall Street investment bank Goldman Sachs just announced that it is planning major layoffs this month. Goldman Sachs said that the investment bank will 3,200 employees in January. Goldman is the first major Wall Street investment bank to cut jobs. But it is not expected to be the last because deal volume has collapsed. Goldman is preparing for a tougher deal environment in 2023. This video continues our coverage of the wave of layoffs sweeping the United States. What does it mean for the economy? And what does it mean for the future of the United States? But before we get into all of that, please press the like button and leave us a comment below. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Goldman Sachs is a storied investment bank if there ever was one. And today, we are hearing reports that Goldman plans on cutting up to 6.5% of its employees. 2023 will bring a much tougher deal environment. The other Wall Street investment banks are adopting a wait-and-see attitude. Wall Street investment banks could cut more workers if February and March revenues do not meet estimates. Goldman Sachs is letting go of as many as 3,200 employees starting Wednesday. That amounts to 6.5% of the 49,100 employees Goldman had in October. That is actually less than the 8% reported last month as the upper end of possible cuts. The layoff is a result of internal discussions between business heads and top management over the last month, said the person, who declined to be identified speaking about personnel decisions. Goldman CEO David Solomon started Wall Street's layoff season in September. He followed up that small layoff with Wall Street's deepest cuts so far. Bank employee levels swelled over the last 2 years as deal activity soared. But the good times didn't last. IPO issuance fell by 94% last year. Wall Street attributes that to suddenly inhospitable markets. Many economists are predicting that the economy will slow further this year. Goldman is cutting headcount in case stock and bond issuance and mergers don't rebound. Goldman is also making jobs cuts in consumer banking. If things haven't gotten better in the first quarter, we'll have more changes, said compensation consultant Alan Johnson. You can't have these expensive people sitting around with nothing to do. Goldman's move follows smaller cuts from other investment banks in recent months. Morgan Stanley, Citigroup, and Barclays. And let's not forget about the beleaguered Credit Suisse. They are in the midst of a restructuring. Credit Suisse has already cut 2,700 employees last quarter. They are also targeting the elimination of a total of 9,000 positions by 2025. Goldman is still moving forward with plans to hire junior bankers and in other areas as needed, one source said. Pretty much all of the Wall Street investment banks experienced a boom in deals over the past 2 years. But the deal boom sputtered out. A hiring freeze was put in place. As the macroeconomic environment weakened, Goldman was the first major firm to cut jobs in September. But that layoff was really only the appetizer course for what is to come in January. It was a relatively shallow cut that only impacted a few hundred employees. Other investment banks followed with similarly modest cuts. Citigroup, Barclays, and Morgan Stanley. But the upcoming layoff at Goldman is by far the biggest job cut on Wall Street so far. I think that you can expect other investment banks to follow suit again. Other firms are likely to have to follow suit. Many firms will have to go back to the drawing board and right-size their organizations. It's not just Goldman, said Karp, CEO of the Options Group. Firms overhired, and now they will have to overfire, too, Karp continued. Goldman's planning is ongoing through next month, and the round could be smaller than 8% when it is finalized, Karp also said. That is especially true if people voluntarily leave, the person with knowledge of the situation added, Karp said. Anonymous sources are saying that as many as about 4,000 employees could be cut. Layoffs are expected to be focused on underperformers or bankers who are working in consumer businesses. Goldman is de-emphasizing consumer businesses because of low deal potential. Goldman hired aggressively during the pandemic as banking deal volumes surged. But what a difference a year makes. Their current projection is 14% less than last year. Goldman Sachs has said that it is reinstating its long-standing tradition of yearly performance-based job cuts. Typically, Goldman cuts the bottom 1% to 5% of employees every year, based on performance. Goldman Sachs currently has 47,000 employees. The job cuts are spread across all departments, according to a report published in the New York Times. Goldman Sachs declined to make a spokesperson available to comment on the layoffs. The U.S. economy is teetering on the verge of a recession and dogged by runaway inflation. And that has led to a steep downturn in deal-making volume. Goldman Sachs' revenue has lagged this year, disappointing Wall Street analysts. Corporate mergers, initial public offerings, and other big corporate deals are down sharply overall in 2022. That is because the Federal Reserve has aggressively raised interest rates this year. In 2022, J.P. Morgan Chase and Morgan Stanley also posted steep profit declines in both revenue and earnings. The investment banking division of J.P. Morgan Chase reported a 54% revenue decline as compared to the same quarter in 2021. Morgan Stanley stunned the financial world, saying that its equity underwriting fees were down 86%. Wall Street investment banks are taking a hard line on demanding that employees come back to the office after the pandemic. Solomon, who famously called working from home an aberration, has signaled the return to office with particular force. Goldman CEO Solomon says that the investment bank will not accept any excuses for employees not to come back to the office. Job cuts on Wall Street come as layoffs at technology companies are just revving up. Layoffs at big tech companies started with a quiet trickle, but now appear to be accelerating. This includes established big names, Web3 unicorns, and everything in between. A year ago, this seemed unthinkable. But now it seems like an ominous sign of things to come. Snap, owner of Snapchat, announced a 20% reduction of employees. This amounts to approximately 1,300 workers. Snap also initiated a major restructuring of their online platform. Oracle, the worldwide software, has cut hundreds of positions but declined to say how many. Most job cuts are said to be in the customer service unit for U.S. customers. Google, which has not yet formally announced layoffs, said that there would be an overall review of sales performance and performance in general. According to the report, the warning states that if results don't look better, then there will be blood in the streets. Despite the number of employees, Google seems to be underperforming as a company. Recently, Pichai shared his plans about a hiring and investment slowdown through 2023. Pichai is publicly asking employees to work with greater urgency and more hunger. Last year, Meta Platforms CEO Mark Zuckerberg cut 11,000 employees. Realistically, there are probably a bunch of people at the company who shouldn't be here, Zuckerberg said. But what do you think? Please leave us a comment below and hit the like button. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Please share this video on social media. Thank you for watching.